Hello everyone. In this video, I will demonstrate the process of replacing the nylon punch pad in the Pun M NDX 200, as well as proper installation and adjustment of a new blade. Flexco has changed the design of the Pun M NDX nylon punch pad by elongating the two mounting holes. We produced this video to reflect this change. Let's get started. First, you'll need to rotate the crank handle until the support table is fully extended and comes up against a hard stop. Rotate the crank handle back a partial rotation and lock in the bottom position. Remove the old punch pad by removing the two 3mm pan head screws. Because the blade will be used to properly position the new punch pad, we will remove the blade holder and replace the cutting blade first. Be sure you have your cut gloves on before removing the 4mm hex screws. Once all three screws are removed, carefully place the blade holder over the three dowel pins located on the front of the punch pad support table with the two thumb nuts facing up. Loosen the two red thumb nuts and slide out the blade. Slide in the new blade and center it on the blade holder prior to tightening the blade in place. Remove the blade cover and carefully reinstall the blade holder into the Pun M NDX. The three through holes of the blade holder are elongated. Loosely install the three hex screws so the blade holder is positioned at the lowest point of the elongated holes. Let gravity do the work here and then lightly tighten it in place. Again, notice how the blade holder drops down, and we'll just lightly tighten in place. Note, as mentioned earlier, this won't be the final position of the blade holder. You're simply setting it in place to properly position the new punch pad. This next step is critical and will prevent both support rails on the punch pad from damage during the finger cutting process. Loosely install the punch pad onto the belt support table with the two pan head hex screws. Slide the back edge of the punch pad up against the face of the blade and then secure it in place. So again, I'm lightly sliding the back edge of this punch pad up against the face of the blade. And while I'm holding it against the blade, I'm going to tighten it in place. Now we can adjust the height position of the blade holder. Start by fully retracting the 3mm set screws within the blade housing until you feel resistance. Don't worry, the screws will not come out. Notice how it just stops on its own. Next, loosen the three blade holder hex screws. Apply upward force on the blade holder so it contacts the blade housing. So I'm pushing it right up against, and then I'm going to lightly tighten in place. Unlock the crank handle and rotate it until the blade is over the punch pad. For more visible demonstration, I will rotate the crank handle until the blade is positioned ahead of the front-facing rail. Notice the blade is not making contact with the nylon punch pad. Lock the handle in the down position. Loosen the 3 hex screws so the blade drops down and rests against the punch pad. Lightly tighten the blade holder in place. So we'll do that. Just loosen these 3 hex screws. See that? The blade holder dropped down. The blade is now touching the punch pad. I'm going to lightly tighten it in place now. Now we're going to adjust the blade pressure. So turn both fine adjustment screws until they make contact with the top of the blade holder. So I'm just going to turn it lightly until it stops. There, it's made contact. I'll do the same on the next one. Now that the 2 set screws are in contact with the top of the blade holder, rotate each screw clockwise a half turn. Now, you're going to feel a little bit of resistance when you do this. That's okay because the blade holder is lightly tightened and the blade is actually making contact with the punch pad. You can now fully tighten the 3 hex screws. Unlock the crank handle and make a few rotations. You should feel slight resistance as the crank handle passes through the bottom position. We've now completed the process for replacing the blade and punch pad. If the belt doesn't easily pull apart at the fingers, rotate the crank handle and lock it in the down position so that the blade is making contact with the top of the punch pad. Slightly loosen the 3 hex screws and adjust both fine adjustment set screws only a quarter turn this time. Tighten up the 3 hex screws and complete another test cut.